Welcome to the Progressive Mindset Podcast. My name is Natalie Potts, business coach and mentor, and each week I'll be bringing you an inspiring personal message to help you unlock creating and living a life full of energy, action, impact and happiness. Today I'm welcoming on Angels, a coach who helps busy professionals to achieve their chosen lifestyle and well-being. We explore the moments where you take stock of life and realise what you have and consider what you truly want. As always, over to Angels to introduce herself.
Angels, thank you so much for joining me today. Really delighted to have you on. Kick us off by sharing a bit about you, what you do, and how you got into coaching.
Hi, so first of all, thank you, Natalie, for inviting me. I'm really excited to be here. And so I'm Angels. I'm originally from Barcelona, Spain. And I've always loved philosophy and kind of like trying to understand like why people do things, like what moves us really in our lives. So that was, I think, a motto that comes from really far, like, that I kind of got fed in like my family as a common thing just in my daily life. But then later on, so I have a creative nature, so I ended up studying design. I worked in fashion and kind of worked really hard to kind of climb up the ladder since I moved to the UK in London. And then at some point I realized there was a little bit of a clash between what I was doing, which it was something that I really loved, but this clash between the life I was living and how I wanted to live, really. So at that point, it was the moment where I had reached where I wanted to be. I had a job that on paper was perfect. And as I said, like I was really enjoying it, but it was very demanding. It was asking if I was doing like a lot of overtime. And there was a change of management where kind of my boundaries got crossed. Like there was some expectation there that they almost wanted to expect that you passed the boundary between your work life and your personal life. So there was a very blurry line, and that was where I kind of drew my line. That's when I chose myself, and I chose basically not to become burnout, not to just get tired of something I love just because the way they wanted to do it. So all of it basically made me realize that perhaps I wasn't where I wanted to be. And I am actually really passionate about like trying to have a work-life balance and valuing what is important, being that relationships, your personal life, your hobbies, etc. And I think this is a very important part of our life. So kind of, I had been looking at coaching and self-development for a while, but from there was the moment where I said, okay, that's it. It's the moment where I take the leap and I choose myself. I'm really passionate about helping people finding this balance, same like I had to. And it took me a lot of courage, to do that, because it's not easy.
No, 100%, it's not easy, and it's very admirable that you decided that you want to do something that you absolutely love. And it's great to hear that you kind of have recognized that and that awareness, because often people sometimes don't ever have that awareness, or they have it so late that they feel that they can't actually do anything with it, which is a real shame for people. Tell me about what your niche is that you're working on.
Yes, so I would say purely because of my story, I guess, and how obsessed I'm with finding this balance. It's been like a motto in my life, I think. I help busy and driven professionals that are passionate about their job, but that they might have a problem between drawing the line between their personal life and their work life. And so I want to help them that perhaps they're feeling stressed and are starting to be overwhelmed. So to balance create a lifestyle that aligns with their needs and their what is important for them first.
I think it was really interesting. You shared with me before about an experience where you would go on a retreat and you love your yoga and how that made you feel. Yet then suddenly, like the next day, then you'd be at work and the environment, the people and everything that kind of completes that work scenario. It kind of was that moment and pinnacle point where you were like, actually, this, I guess it's a yo-yo effect, isn't it, a little bit as well, that one, like you say, it's two, you feel two different lives that you're leading there, and how that felt. How has it been since you've decided to do that leap yourself and not have that yo-yo effect? What does it feel like every day by just doing what you love?
Yeah, of course, it's not like, it doesn't happen from one day to the other. And even as we usually say, no, as coaches, like, we are not perfect. We are common people. We have our ups and our downs. Yeah. And it's about, perhaps in the past I was more worried about finding this perfect balance, but actually for me it's been this understanding that there's a journey, and this journey is not perfect, same like I am not, and that there's gonna be moments of everything. But yeah, what you mentioned with me, I think is trying to connect, go back to the basics, really connect to yourself, to start listening to your body, which is something we are really not used to do, and sometimes it feels even uncomfortable. Listening to your body, what your body needs, because your body is asking you for things. Your emotions are kind of overflowing sometimes. Spending time with yourself, which it can be really hard sometimes, and other times really is putting that time for yourself, because we don't do it because it is something that scares us really, and we get into this autopilot mode where it's just all about work, life, doing things, and I think it's very important to balance this out, because we are more than just the doing. We are more than just the physical thing. We are, so we need to balance this out with what we do with our body, what we do with for our soul, really, what makes us happy. So for me, it is really understanding that I have a lot of different areas of my life, or my persona, no, that I need to take care of, and then putting some time into it. So that's why the programs that I started, and they are about creating habits, is to starting making the time. So first analyzing, what do you need? What are the areas where you need time? And we start from yourself. What do you need? What are your values? And then from there creating, okay, so to get to what you want to do, or how you want to live, what are the steps, no? And slowly getting there, and always being mindful that you will be readjusting, because life changes, you change, and just, of course, celebrating every win, every progress is a win. So that's something really important, and usually helps a lot my clients as well.
Yeah, I think it's, you said a lot there. It's really interesting. That I was just thinking that sometimes we have to probably take almost like an audit or review of our lives and reflect on what's going on and where we're at and what's working and what's not. And like you say, that being uncomfortable is part of the process, and there is a lot of things that are part of the process. There is a evaluation of where you're at in life and what you want, which is what we said at the start. Exactly that second point, and then even the environment that you're around, the people that are in it. And I guess it goes back, like you say, you have to think about what your values truly are. And I honestly don't think, I think some people think it's a bit woo-woo, or they don't really think it's something they need to explore. But I know from doing values eliciting myself, that any time that I feel that life isn't aligned to my values, it kind of just feels a bit off track, and I don't feel on the path that I want to be on, or feel that that path is, even if it's uncomfortable, it doesn't feel that it's the right one sometimes if I'm not doing things aligned to my values. And I'll give an example that I guess, so this week I've noticed it. I've slept really badly because I've not planned my day well and looked at prioritizing, and I guess I didn't then, you know, I haven't given time to that enough, and I value my sleep and, you know, focusing on my body and my mindset. So I was kind of a little bit cross that I'd done that, but also it's going to happen. You're going to have rubbish nights of sleep. So it's kind of letting it go and not thinking it. Like, you know, if you get up late in the morning and something, I was with someone the other day and he'd woken up late and got to work late, and he was like, oh, it's thrown my whole day out, hasn't it? And I was like, well, not really.
I know. I hear this all the time. Yeah.
So you could choose to say, it's done. Give me a moment. I need half an hour just to balance where I am. That word balance, just go, what's going on for me? Deep breath, start the day. And that I had to do that a couple of years ago, because I used to, if I'd wake up late, it was rare, but I'd really get like really anxious and stressed, and I feel like that's it, everything's gone to pot, and it's not the case. We just need to be aware of where we're at and just take that little bit of responsibility, almost an ownership of our days. So I do think that, you know, I was going back to, there was a moment this week when I realised, you know, my sleep's a bit rubbish, and then that's impacting my eating, it's impacting my fitness, and I didn't train that day, and that really annoyed me. And I was like, stop. I was like, you've had 2 days where it's not going great. And I shared it with a friend actually, and they said, look, it's done. And I said, yeah. And then it's like, get 2 rubbish days, get back on track. But we have to, you know, we can let this kind of, that groundhog continue if we don't do a kind of check in where we're at and what we want to change. And I think that comes down to the mindset piece about how disciplined we are about what we want. But I think when you do have your values, it helps to be more disciplined in your way of life with what you want. Because like say, like, I didn't really feel motivated to train this morning. When I'm in there, I'm fine, but it's the discipline that gets me there. So there is lots there, and that's how it just shows. I think it's also, you know, a reflection of how powerful coaching is, because you go through that journey and pathway to understanding and your perspective on everything that you do, not just one area. And that's when the part starts to bring in all of these areas of your life, and what we would call the wheel of life, where you look at everything that's a priority to you, and you kind of scale where you're on 1 to 10 with that, with 10 being great, where I want to be. And it's really important to do that sometimes for people, to understand how's life for you, and then look at where you want to change, etc. Priorities. And I was mentoring someone the other day, and we were talking about the wheel of life. I don't use it loads, but sometimes I'll know to use it. And it is very powerful, because it's not saying, they said, how do you break it down? And I said, well, you're not saying that one area of your life isn't important. You're just prioritising what's the sooner rather than later, potentially. And that's what sometimes, again, you do yourself, and we help our clients get. I'm really interested in this word balance, because a few years ago when I was really into fitness, I wouldn't have said I did have a balance, because everything was about getting up in the morning, 5:30, training, going to work, or doing my cardio, going to work, going back in the evening to train, making sure I got my food in, make sure I got my steps. And then I kind of let everything else, that was it as my life. It was like train, home, work, train, home, work.
Yeah.
I think that word balance I really struggled with, because I was like, there isn't balance. You can't have it. It's just, you know, you just choose what you want to do and go there. But you know, I've had to reevaluate that, and that's probably my own development, and understand what that word means to me a bit. And I think it probably, like you said, means about having a little bit of everything, but that will probably change. A bit like values can change over life, over time. But
and that's fine.
But it's about, I think, being brave to say you want it to change as well. And that's a massive thing with the work you're doing around saying that this isn't working for me now. I loved it and I'm great at it. I'm great at what I do, but it doesn't make my heart sing. It doesn't get me out of bed in the morning anymore in the same way it did, or the same way I want it to.
Yeah, I think for me, I guess that's when you kind of gotta choose how you put yourself out there. And it's a personal thing, but I guess I don't like the sound of my name. Is kind of like, I always had a bit of a thing with it. So I thought, okay, I want to create like just a name. And, you know, on this process of looking for it, I didn't want to overthink it, because I do believe, like, since I started my coaching journey, like, I've evolved so much, and I'm so proud of this, really, because or, you know, I still did like brainstorming, thought about, you know, niches, whatever, but ultimately what I am doing is what I'm most passionate about. And I know I will help people on any area of their lives, because other things come up, and that's fine, because we are everything, right? We are all the parts of ourselves. But like for me, the word that was always there was this balance. And I think it comes from the fact that I am quite an idealistic person, in terms of like, I am imaginative, I'm creative, that's how I am. And I've always been this, like, a dreamer, right? And again, with coaching, is very like directive in terms of masculine, you know, this masculine energy of like action, doing. And I do have this part, funnily enough, you know, of being perseverant, very, you know, challenging and structured with my clients, for example, and myself. I'm like really strict, and I had to work around that, because my nature is more fluid, really. So that's why for me it was a hard thing. And it's like, I think it's an aspiration or a direction, really. So that'd be the perfection. And I am just trying and striving. And on that journey, I realized that I can't get this perfect balance, that this won't be there all the time. And I even heard coaches that say balance is not the word, because yeah, you can't do this perfection. But I think for me, it gives me this sense of like peace, you know, of like, yeah, this equilibrium, no, this line. And then from there, I have the inspiration, I have the direction where I'm going. And also, well, for me, it's really important, actually. It's like, okay, I have what I want to achieve. I have the way I want to live. I took the leap and I quit, you know, but I'm not asking my clients to do that at all. Like, that'd be the extreme. But I think like that's really important. Like the balance will be different for everyone, and at every different moment. So you will need different things, and that's fine, because it's all about being, I think, balancing out the areas that are coming up for you and the things, the priorities that you have. And that's life. Life is change, really. So accepting that, I think, is accepting that human balance will be like that. So it will be different as well for everyone, and that's beautiful, actually.
Yeah, you're right. And it's just reminded me of that kind of idea about, and I talk about this quite a lot, the sowing the seed. And I tend to find, without kind of stereotyping, but millennials nowadays, and whatever generation it is after millennials coming through the world, very impatient. And I remember working with a coach a couple of years ago, and he said, one of the best things about working with you is that you're really patient. And I'm not in every area of my life, completely not. I'm not saying I'm perfect on that at all. But it is interesting. And I guess I always have been quite patient. When I did the journey of coming through my academy days to coach, you know, to qualify as a coach, I wasn't set on the goal of a distinction. I did get that, but what my goal was to learn, understand, embed, go back, mess up, go again, feel confused, feel frustrated, feel lost, procrastinate, and get through that. And every time I think of something, so I'm studying for something at the moment, and I've got an email this week saying you've got 3 months left, and I was like, oh my god, a moment of I haven't done enough. So I was like, right, today I'm not going to stress about the fact that I've got 3 months. I've got to be really objective about this and look at what I need to achieve within that 3 months. Yes, it's achievable, but I'm going to have to put in some work. And then I need to plan it. And I've drawn out a coach, you know, you coach yourself quite easily, but I started drawing for him. I thought, this is exactly the same with the academy. I was procrastinating about doing corporate coaching. And then I got to a point where I was like, just stop, do a plan, work out what you need to focus on, what's the priorities, work out what has to happen, when it has to happen, if there's deadlines, and then just go and do it and chip away step by step, like what you said at the start, step by step. And yeah, I've taken that same idea and it worked really well, and I'm going to do it today and just have a bit of downtime and just focus on where I'm at and get a plan together to move me forward. So I think that, you know, we can look at ourselves a lot, and we have to just take that time out to say, slow it down. I'm big on this as well, slow down, speed up, and look at like the priorities and what you need to do. And unfortunately, it'll mean that other areas that I value, I'll have to rethink of, actually, I can't give that same time to that at the moment. It's just not a priority. It doesn't mean I don't love it. It's important. It's just not a priority.
Yeah.
And yeah, it's really, really interesting. I guess
yeah, I think like, sorry,
that's fine.
like what you said is because it got my attention in terms of like we do all live in this kind of crazy pace life. Like I really saw that in London, and because I am a very active person as well, I got drawn to it and I loved it, and I was doing so many stuff, but also working really hard. So like that's where I saw what I mentioned when we spoke before, this kind of dual life, no? Like we are just going from place to place. We want to achieve the highest in our career, but we want to be the best, I don't know, the best friend, the best girlfriend, the best everything. That's really not realistic, and it's a lot about expectations as well. As you said, you have deadlines, you have priorities, and at some point you have to decide what's important for you, because otherwise life will just take you and you will just follow until that's when it comes for example, rocking chair exercise we do, not like it will take you to a moment at the end of your life, or perhaps when you're 40, 50, wherever, which it's never too late to be fair, but like perhaps you don't want to spend 50 years, 30 of your life and then realize, oh, but what am I doing here? I don't even like what I'm doing. I don't like how I'm living. This is not me, no? And a lot it comes, I think, from like, when it comes to creating habits, or like, how do you work with your life? Like, there's a mindset part that you mentioned that is very connected to the identity. So together with values is like, what do you see yourself like? How do you see yourself?
Yeah.
And how do you talk to yourself comes after. But I notice a lot of people, because it comes from education and our society really, that we are trying to live up to expectations that sometimes are not even ours. Yeah. And like there's a moment where you need to review that. You need to review what is really important for you, and what do you want to get out of this life, really, even understanding that whatever happens, it will happen. So there are things that are outside your control, right? But there are things that aren't. Same like when you say I get off late and then I say, oh, I wasted my day. No, you didn't. You just took an hour extra sleep that wait, perhaps you need it because your body was asking for it and you were just not listening. But there's a lot of things going on there that I think if we integrate, if we listen, we're just gonna be happier on our everyday life. And as we were commenting in the beginning, it's not always comfortable to get to that point of like awareness, of like listening, of facing your own self and your needs and your fears and all your resistance, no? But like, I think it's beautiful, I think, accepting this imperfection and like all the things that we go through, because it's all learning. And a tip that I would say, like for people who are out there and struggling with different things, like what they're doing with their life, how they're feeling, how is their work going, like they don't really know what to decide or what's their moment or what to do next. It's just like, treat yourself like if you were your best friend, or if you were your little self when you were like, I don't know, 10, 5, how would you treat that person? No, with love, with understanding, with patience, with compassion, really, which is a word that's a bit perhaps woo-woo, but I find it really explains what we need more of with ourselves. So giving this space with yourself to be like, okay, what do I need? Why am I oversleeping? Why am I so tired? No, and then slowly unfolding, what do you need and what do you want instead? No, as we always say for coaching.
Well, it's like that element, isn't it? Start with why.
Yes, yeah, which is a difficult one. It's a difficult question. Sometimes comes more at the end, no? But because I think we are not listening to the whole thing that is giving you information. And that's where coaching really helps, I think, is this. I was listening to a TV program the other day, no? And they were saying like, sometimes people don't need advice, people don't need your opinion, really nothing, no, they just need a space to be listened, to be seen as what they are and not judged, so they feel safe to actually realize and observe what they need. No, there's no time in our society for that. Everything goes so quickly. There's no time to, your boss sometimes is not gonna come and ask you what do you need, so you need to find it.
Yeah, it's really interesting. How do you find the cultural change going from Barcelona to England, and how does that impact with coaching for you?
I think, to be fair, I've been coaching more globally. So I've coached a lot of people in the UK, and I think my business, I'm hoping it will be based kind of globally. So I've coached even people from like Canada, different places. And I think it's really funny because like, for me, I am very adaptable, even though after the coaching, I noticed there were things where I was quite stiff. Actually, I have my own ideas. I had to break that box. But I do have this sort of curious mind. And then when I moved to London, when I moved somewhere, no, I am really observant and I adapt a lot. So there are a lot of things within me that I feel like I do really work like British people. I think there's a lot of things that I really love of how it works there. There works really well, and it's very structured, you know, very organized. So for me, it is normal, really, because I was there as well. Yeah. But it's like having like two different parts of you. When I come back and I work with people in Spain, of course, there's a part that I connect because it's more cultural. So like we perhaps talk the same way. We talk louder, we talk more, you know, so it's funny because I can enjoy each part of everyone. And at the end of the day, what is actually really fun is that every single client is so different. Like when someone comes to a session, like I never know how this is gonna go. I can't even know how long it's gonna take.
and some coaches really struggle with that. Again, where I did a mentoring lot, say that, you know, this doesn't work with someone, and I said, but sometimes it will work and sometimes it won't, and you have to get comfortable with that as well, that you can't allow then your self-doubts to kick in, or that negative voice, or that little monkey chimp that jumps in an emotion and says, oh, it's you, or oh, you didn't do that well enough, oh, you didn't do this well enough. That might be the case at points. However, the truth is that often is that we need to, like you said, be more adaptable as a way of, actually, we should be better leaders in our business, and know that client needs something different, and listen, like you say, listen more. Listen also, I think there's a big question, is listen to what's not being said. And if you spent the day and just did, like, when I remember years ago, I used to talk a lot when I was younger, and I just did a day joke thing for charity where I just didn't talk all day. And it's quite powerful sometimes to not be that person and just review. It's like when you go out for a night and you don't drink and you watch everybody around you, you see things differently. And I think you have to put yourself into that, out of a comfort zone, but then also be aware of, how do I manage myself when I'm not comfortable? Because that's key as well. And especially when you say the habit part. So I think it's really interesting how that kind of evolves, and everybody's different, and adapting is absolutely crucial.
Yeah, I think a big part of coaching, which is something that I actually love, because I love newness, and when I was working by projects, now every project was exciting, every trend, I'm on it. So for me, every client is a wall, and I learn so much from all of them, from their process. There's always something I learn. Actually, even the results is something out of the world, because it just boosts my energy so much. Like just the satisfaction of seeing someone achieving and being happy and realizing things, that for me makes my day, But I think there's a big part on coaching about that, about just being open and relaxed, about like whoever you have in front of you. And when I was practicing as well, sometimes I had clients that their value system was very different to mine, and I considered, oh, is this gonna work? Like am I going to be able to not push that person to get outside that box, you know, because I was like, oh, we are so different. But then I always pick to see how it goes, to test and just always learn and always see this, actually the progress with that person themselves of realizing self-awareness. And there's always like a journey from point A to B, no? So I think that is like super interesting. And I think also it gives us an opportunity personally, because I am quite like extrovert or quite a chatty person. I know all coaches have their strengths, and I know some are like really good listeners and a listener by nature and all these things. And I always thought I do listen because I'm interested, but still I always bring the conversation. So for me, coaching actually gave me the opportunity to bring my brain to peace, to kind of shut my brain chatter and just take a step back and just be more patient, like you said, and just be there for that person, holding that space and making them feel comfortable, which is something that I know how to do, and just leaving them all the work. So I think that's really cool, and people appreciate it. So for me it was magical to actually be in that space and really give them that silence.
Yeah, what a great word, magical. I love that. How do you so kind of my quick 5 questions which I always ask everybody, how do you measure success?
Success is not a word that I would generally love. I think reaching success would be reaching what you want out of life. So I think in general we all strive for happiness. So that would be the goal. In my case, I think it's very personal. For some people might be career, might be something else, but I think it is always important that it is authentic for yourself, so that it is tied to your values. So what is really important for you, and then to make that happen, to bring that into facts, into reality. And then there's a big part, I think, for success that is acceptance, and it is tied to my idea of like how to get happiness, not something I've been kind of trying to follow for a long time as well. So the acceptance of things you don't have control of, the acknowledge of the difference of like other people's needs. And on a higher level, I think at the end of that, which is the most complex perhaps, is like this connection of like feeling that we are all in the same thing. When you respect that others need other things and you need your things, but at the end of the day, connecting with what that means and like where we all are, I think then you just see where you are, and you are just one little thing trying to like be happy. So I think like taking all this in account would be success for me, just living how is authentic for you.
And what would you tell your younger self?
What would I tell my younger self? Interesting. That there is a long journey, that I can start it anytime. And I think because perhaps I didn't get like the validation or the encouragement words that I would have liked, I would just say, you're doing great. Just bring up all you have to give, and keep exploring to get whatever you want to get.
It's great.
Yeah.
What can people do to live a happier life?
What can people do? Again, for each person is gonna be different, so I could not at all give like one advice for all. But I think, in my opinion, is this flexibility, which I struggle with. Perhaps that's why I'm like now so proud about it. Which is, I've learned that this acceptance of like whatever is happening, about change, about ourselves, things that are happening, we are living every day. All this acceptance and this flexibility can make us kinder, and being kinder to yourself is, I think, so important, and it makes you also kinder to the others, really. And I think so with this it comes gratitude, so focusing more in what we have than what we lack,
to
bring this positivity in, and connect more to ourselves, to know, where we are. And I think once we are more connected to all this positivity and like what we really need, then kind of things will fall, and we will know what is next. No, we will know that we are in the right place. There's no rush.
And I guess moving on from happier, slightly different, what can people do to live a more purposeful life?
More purposeful.
Yeah.
So definitely know what's more important for you, so your values. Because from this you will actually know what hurts you, why you act sometimes bitter, or why you are sad sometimes. So what hurts you and what makes you more powerful, what makes you more relaxed. So connecting with all these things and giving a space to them. So giving space to what is important, being that things you love, can be music, can be sport, being that the person, the people that you love, and living authentically as you want it to.
And last of all, what would you want to be known for?
First of all, I don't think I really want to be known specifically. So I think it'd be like a personal thing. So I aspire to validate myself, so not need this external validation, and actually take pressure off me in that way. But then when it comes to my friends or my family, who I ask feedback, etc., so then I would want to be known for being a good person and a good friend. And then something that I heard, like from feedback, trying to find out more about myself and my why, etc., is I think bringing this positive energy and this action, a bit of reflection wherever I go. I think that's something I identify with. But I think on a more personal level, I'd be happy if I'm known to be a woman that became who she wanted to become and that lived how she wanted to live. So that's this freedom that I would wish for everyone, and that's really, I think, my purpose in my job and in my life.
Thank you so much to Angels, and of course, thank you to you for listening. If you would like to connect with Angels, then you can find her on Instagram under Angels Gomez, the Balance Coach. If you've enjoyed this episode, I highly recommend you check out the previous ones, exploring everything from business, relationships, mindset, goal setting, mental health. If you are looking to transform and build your coaching business, then I would love you to join my program Infinite, where I help business coaches to build their coaching business. To find out more, reach out to me and share your biggest struggle right now. Let's see if and how I can help you. As always, go take action and make an impact, and have a great day.